Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar and Happy New Year. Hopefully all of you had a restful holiday season and charged up to get into 2021. Let us get started. We have a lot of content today. Let's start with the set of items we're going to talk about today. Everybody's got EVV on their minds, as EVV is imminent. The state has made a decision to roll EVV out by December of 2021, and therefore everyone's preparing for that. And the state itself has some very specific timelines, and we'll share that with you. Do want to cover with you all the great things we've done in the last 7 months. There's a lot of improvements we've made in Pavillio, and we want to discuss that with you. Talk about what we're going to do in the future in 2021 and what we're going to develop. Give you a exciting demo of what we have built over the last few months, some really cool features and functionality that we put together. We want to give you an update on our migration and how that is going. We have migrated over 120 customers onto Pavillio from legacy cache, and want to tell you about how that's going and how to make that a smooth process. With that, let's jump right in. Now, all of you are aware of EVV by now. All of you have been anticipating it. It is live in Minnesota by December of 2021. And if you are providing any one of these services listed on the screen, you will be impacted, and you will need to have an EVV compliant tool to be able to record time. And there are many services here, and we anticipate that this list is complete. And DHS is still to provide further guidance, and we anticipate that coming out here during the course of the next few months. So let's take a look at the timeline that the state has presented. First of all, the EVV RFP was issued in November, and there was response to the RFP was needed by the 30th, and there's an anticipated award to the winning the selected vendor, and the vendor would start implementing the product in May, and hopefully for a projected go live in December. And many of you who've known us and have listened to and talked to me in the past, we've always expressed an interest in responding to the state RFP and being the state provider. And over the course of the last few months, we changed our course. We decided that it is something that we've chosen not to do, and for two reasons. The first one is the requirements to be a state provider requires a tremendous amount of effort, and there's heavy lifting in getting the state system up and running. And we originally thought we wanted to do that, but we recognized that, at the end of the day, we have a small team, and our small team needs to be really focused on providing the services to our customers. And if we are to get distracted and pursue the state RFP, that would then jeopardize our current customers. On top of that, we also took on Pavillio, and we are rolling out Pavillio, and the development and the rolling out of Pavillio has been a big effort, and it continues to be a big effort, and that's where our focus is. In our minds, what we need to be focused on is being a partner to you, and so that you can provide better care. And we chose that by not responding to the state RFP, it allows us to continue to provide the service that we provide to you, and that in turn you will be able to provide the great care that you do for your customers, to your clients. So while we are not responding to the state RFP, everything the state will require will be covered in our product, and will be able to support what the state needs. So the state's going to pick a vendor. The state has a hybrid model, which means they'll have a vendor for those who do not have an EVV product, and anyone such as yourself who has cache as their platform can use our version of the EVV product to then connect to the state system and then send the EVV data to the state. We are fully committed to doing that. As soon as the state decides and tells us what all they need us to do, we'll be preparing our systems and building the integration so that we can send the data across. So there is no, there's nothing that's lost as a result. In fact, we have a little more flexibility in making sure that we can get ready, and you would be able to start using the EVV toolset prior to the state rolling it out in December. So that's an advantage to you, so that you can get familiar with it, so that by the time it's law and you have to be on EVV, you're already up and running. So that's a quick background on EVV and where we stand and what our plan is going forward. Let's jump right into the advancements we've made here in the last 7 or 8 months. If you remember back in March of last year, we launched Pavillio with just PCA services, and initially, so we have what's called service lines. Service lines are distinct capabilities within the platform, and we started with PCA and PCA Choice as 2 different service lines. Fast forward to 7 months, and here we are, and we have more than now 15 service lines, and all the services you see on the page there is supported on Pavillio. So basically what we did was, in about June timeframe, we built out 245D basic capabilities, and in October we built out intensive capabilities. One of the harder aspects of the intensive capability was group homes and the management of group homes, and we rolled it out in December. As you can see, there are several services here, pretty much anything that is part of 245D basic and intensive, as well as some services that are considered what we consider to be special services. For example, the second bullet on the leftmost column is county case management. We have several customers who provide contracted case management services, and that is also available within the platform. Not only did we build out 15 additional service lines, we also added a number of new features. Some exciting features, some features that are new, others that are necessary, and some that will simply enhance the capability for you to do business. Some highlights here: we have a telehealth capability so that you can have video conferencing with a client when you're doing remote services. Remote services have been approved by DHS in certain instances, and for those remote services, you can use telehealth. We have the measurement of 170 data validations, various things that we do to try to enforce the good data to go through the system, so that we strive towards this magical goal that we have of less than 1% first-time denial. And we are fast approaching that, and these validations only help to achieve that. Several other things, we've got business intelligence, which is analytics. We've got much better geofencing and some capabilities to define multiple locations of service. Goals and outcomes tracking is something that we do, that we've incorporated, that allows caregivers to track that information. It's not just being noted, it can be measured. And a significant advancement is Mco Billing, and we'll talk more about that when we get to billing. But basically, it is the ability for you to send claims to MCOs without having to upload files and then import remits. The connection to Availity is direct, and the file transfers and the remits that come back happen automatically. And this all fits under our one-click billing capability that we have built out. I always like to give an update on where we are with the product and where we are headed. We are right in the middle of doing some day and employment service work. We have a large customer base of day and employment service providers, DT&H providers, and for them, we've already started working on the components necessary. A big part of that is the 245D documentation capabilities, the intensive documentation capabilities. That took us a while to build. We've got that done, and now we're right in the thick of working through what day services are and then employment services. Early to late March, we'll complete that. By mid-April, we should see day programs starting to migrate off of legacy onto Pavillio. Once we have that up and running, the next large service line that we are pursuing is mental and behavioral health. This is an area that, while we've always been able to bill for, we haven't necessarily had all the clinical documentation capabilities. Over the last 6 months or so, with the help of a outside consultant, we've been pulling together all the necessary documentation for mental and behavioral health, and we've got all that ready, and right off the day programs, we're going to be jumping right into that. Followed by that, we'll be getting into skilled nursing and the necessary, we have a good idea of what needs to happen there, but given the timeline, it'll probably be August, September timeframe by the time we have skilled nursing up and running. No product is complete without having additional new features and some innovative ideas. We have a list of over 100 different things that we would love to get done, and we hope we can get as many of those completed. And we're always looking for feedback, and the feedback that we've gotten from several of our customers in Pavillio has already helped us enhance the product in several ways, and it's already helping other customers because at the end of the day, you guys use the product on a day-to-day basis and your input is valuable. So we look forward to getting your input as you start using Pavillio. As a refresher, we've always looked at Pavillio as this end-to-end platform. We're not just a billing software company. We're not just a EHR. We are an end-to-end platform that allows a home and community-based services provider to do everything that's necessary outside of your financial management, which is maybe QuickBooks, and the printing of paychecks, which is payroll. But everything right up to that, we want to be able to run on one platform for you so that it will simplify the work you have to do, which frees you up to provide the care that you do for your recipients and your clients. Whether it's the billing engine, whether it's workforce management, whether you have documents that you want to create, you have to schedule workers, the ability to control who sees what in a workspace. And recently we added the HIPAA compliant video capability so that you can have video conferencing. All of this ultimately so that you have under one platform, under one roof, you have all the capabilities to run your business. Why? Because we want this to be a streamlined business operation for you, and ultimately this improves the quality of service that you provide to the clients you serve. Well, let me, we're going to jump right into the demo. There's a lot of stuff that we want to cover. You know, definitely we're not going to do every new feature, but we picked out some things that I think are interesting and I think you would find useful. And we're going to cover it in this particular order because everybody's interested in EVV. We're going to show you what we have for EVV, as well as some of the enhancements we've made since the last time you've seen it. Talk about the new service lines and maybe walk through one of the service lines and how it operates. And there are several things we've done in billing that I think you're going to find exciting and helpful in running your organization. And then financial management. This has been a gap in legacy Cache. We were able to get you billing information and then we sort of backed into what the financial data was, but now we truly have a double entry accounting system within the platform that allows you to actually go through and keep track of financials. And finally, we'll walk through some of the workflow and collaboration and what I call quality of life improvements that we are building and have built, and we'll show you some of those that will help you run the agency effectively. I have with me Bill Tamala. You guys, everyone knows Bill. Bill is going to be helping me out with the demo. He's going to share a few things, show you a few things, and then we will sort of ham and egg it, right, Bill?
That's the plan.
All right, sounds good. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. So as Praba mentioned, one of the first things we'll start with is we'll show you our updated EVV application. Those of you who've seen EVV in legacy will recognize most of the flow of how the app is built. What I can tell you is we've improved the experience, we've added some features to the system, and just upgraded the use of the application across the board. As with today, the app works across multiple platforms. It's designed to work. There's a downloadable app in the App Store for iOS devices and a downloadable app in the Play Store for Android devices, and you can use it from any browser window. So any device that is internet capable can run EVV, from our platform. And
it's also that the guts of the EVV app is completely rewritten so that it is part of Pavillio. While the legacy EVV app looks similar, this is a completely rewritten backend, which eliminates some of the challenges we've had in the past of syncing data back and forth. All of that is eliminated because it is on one single platform.
Very true. So the first thing we'll walk through is how a caregiver will use the app. And so in this case, Bill is a caregiver, and I've logged into the EVV app. And the first thing I see is a dashboard. Shows me some warnings or alerts at the top of the screen, which we'll go into in a little more detail in a moment. If you're an agency that is scheduling visits for your caregivers, those visits would show up right on the front screen here. So in this case, my agency scheduled me a visit for Marjorie. I've already got it on my calendar, and I can see that it's there, and I can clock into that visit, when I'm ready. In many cases, we know your agencies do not schedule directly with your caregivers. In most cases, the client themselves is working directly with the caregiver to set up their timeline. And so in that case, the caregiver would simply click on this icon at the bottom, for their care recipients, and they'd see a list. This is my list of clients that I'm set up to work for. These are the people I've been trained to deal with. I know their services. I've read their care plans. I know what I need to do with these individuals. When I arrive to start work, I'm going to arrive and start work with Marjorie here. I simply click on the clock in button or tap on it on my phone, and it will clock me in and start my time card. Now, the first thing you'll see here is a prompt that this is one of the newest features we've added into the app. This just rolled out, and it's part of the EVV compliance, and it's also part of being able to adapt EVV for a variety of different services. This allows me to select where am I providing service to Marjorie. In a PCA environment, most times the service is done in the client's home. In other services, that service might be provided at a workplace, in another location. Maybe they're going to meet at a coffee shop. So the authorized service locations show up here, and so that I, as a caregiver, can select, for compliance, where am I providing service to Marjorie? And so we'll select one of the locations here.
And these locations are predetermined. So the purpose here is, if, for example, a recipient is receiving care at home and also at a relative's house, and they may be moving back and forth, living at both places, then you would set both of those places up as places where you can receive care. By setting that up and pre-approving it, you know that when care is provided there and it's selected, the location is selected, then there is no exception with that care delivery, and you don't have to flag it for further investigation. And this flexibility allows you to have care delivered in multiple locations for a client without having to consider every location outside of the house to be an exception.
So while I'm in service, you saw a confirmation message at the top of the screen in green that showed that the clock has started. At the top of the screen, it retains that start time and shows me when I started, and a button will remain on the top of the app. So if I move through the app, or if I put my phone down and provide the service throughout the day, that header still stays there so that I know I need to clock out before I finish my day. When I've ended service with Marjorie, I simply tap on the clock out button, I get a confirmation. Do I want to end the visit, end the service with Marjorie? And in this case, we'll say yes. At the end of the confirmation, you're going to see this message. I've clocked out successfully, and it's telling me time has been recorded outside the client geofence. Well, what does that mean? Well, a geofence has to do with the location of your phone, your GPS location, and what it's doing is comparing my device to that service location that we used when we checked in. Am I in the same place that I should be when I'm providing service? And it's warning the client that, in this case, I'm out of the fence. I'm away from where I should be when I clocked in and out. And this would be recorded as an exception for the agency to review. So now I'm reviewing my visit record. I can see the time that I've been in service for 2 minutes. And then I see a map. And the map shows me what is the client's location, and it's drawing a line to where I'm supposed to be. So if I zoom out a little bit and show you on the map, it sees that I'm in our office in Oakdale. That's where I'm providing the service. That's where my device has located me, and I'm supposed to be at a different place at Marjorie's home. And so what this is doing is giving you an indication that, where am I in relation to where I should be. This is one of the validation steps that EVV requires, is an electronic record of my location. And so this gives you a tool for the caregiver to see that I'm not where I'm supposed to be, and also records it for you, the agency, so that you can validate each of these services. If we scroll down a little farther, I see a list of activities. And those of you who are familiar with PCA services, recognize the ADLs, and you can see there's only 3 of them here. This is a piece that one of the benefits of adapting the EVV product right onto the Pavillio platform is, in this case, for Marjorie has a care plan, and her care plan only allows these 3 activities. These are the only ADLs that are authorized. And so with that, these capabilities come through into the app, and so the caregiver only has the ability to record those activities. This is something that we've talked about for a couple of years, that we wanted to get to, that we planned on doing, and really needed to adapt the system to fit together so that the care plan flows into the app and helps your care management, so that when you're getting reviewed, audited, checked from licensing, that the activities that are being recorded match your care plan. You're in compliance with what the plan shows, and that your caregivers aren't simply checking every box on the list when they're not supposed to be.
One of the things you will see further in the demo is that the service agreement is sort of the center of everything for care delivery. And we always try to make sure that you enter information once and then you use that information in multiple places. And this is a good example of something where when you enter the care plan and the service agreement associated with that, that then drives a variety of other activities. In this particular case, the care plan drives the activities that are necessary for care delivery. And that is then we can use this information to look at how well the care delivery was performed, and you can look at quality of care delivery because you've actually tracked every activity electronically, and you'll be able to report on that.
Confirming service details that I provided, where I was supposed to be. I can record any notes, into the visit record, so that any notes that need to be part of the record get added in addition to the ADLs. I have a box for signature, and so with a touch screen, I can record my signature on this page, just like you would on paper. This records it electronically so that it complies with all of DHS's requirements. I still have the ability to have the client, sign the time card right here if I desire, if that's my process with my agency. The responsible party can do that as well, or if they're not available, we can skip that step. And so here I'm just going to sign it for myself, and I can submit this time card into the system, and you can see the confirmation that it's been submitted. So the best case is when a client is filling out their service record, they're clocking in, they're clocking out, confirm my visit, sign the time card, and submit it all in one step. Now we're going to move back to the dashboard quickly. One of the warnings up at the top of the page, noted that I have 3 timesheets to submit. And so if I didn't complete my time card right away, that's okay. The app will allow me to finish it later. And so I can open up that view and I can see that I have some missing timesheets where I've recorded time from yesterday, one for a different time or a different client from this morning. I can review those details. I can see what I've submitted already, and then I can submit these, in one or in multiples, and sign the time cards, right on the page. And so the app allows me to complete everything in real time in the best case. And then if there's cases where, I simply got my time recorded, but I need to submit it and finish it and sign it later, I can do that. I can sign them and submit them on a weekly basis if I choose. So all of those processes are available for the caregivers to make their life as easy as possible. Okay. The other capabilities of the app are very similar to today. I can review my profile, I can look at my history, any messages or notifications that come from the system, would show up in the app as well. So now we're going to log out, and I'm going to log back into the app as a client. So the user login is based on their email address, and that email address determines, when your user set up, am I a client? Am I a caregiver? Am I a responsible party? Am I a family member? All of those are capabilities within the application. And in the app, one of the advancements we've made, allows me to set up any user can have multiple roles. And so I don't have an example to show you, but I know there are many services where the caregiver is also the legal guardian or the responsible party for the client. In the legacy app, we have a structural issue where that requires you to have multiple email addresses for the multiple roles. In Pavillio, that has been streamlined so that every individual user can be set up with multiple roles. What you can do then is when I log in, I can select what is the role I'm providing here, so that if I do have a parent who's both the caregiver and the guardian, they can log in using the same credentials and determine what role they're playing. For a client or a responsible party, this is what my dashboard shows. At the top of the screen, I've got an alert that I've got some unapproved timesheets I need to review. Very similar to how the screen works for a caregiver. I can see the details of this visit, that Bill was here a few days ago, and I need to look at this time. I can see what activities were provided. I can see the time that's in and out. I can see the service that was provided. And then I have the ability to either approve or reject this time card. So if I see that it is invalid for some reason or incorrect or a mistake was made, I can reject it and send it back to the caregiver to have it fixed. Or I can approve it and say, yep, this looks good on my end. I approve it, and then I need to sign it. Herman's going to sign the timesheet as he should, and then he can approve that time. And that closes it out, marks it as successful, and drops it off my page. Okay. The other piece of the dashboard for the client and for the family basically gets to the idea of a client portal or a family portal of activity. It shows me all of the services that are available that I have authorized for me. What is the service agreement? What are the different service lines? And how many units have been authorized and consumed? And so in this case down here at the bottom, you can see one that's got a little green tick mark on it. I've consumed some of these units. It's important, especially as the world moves to a more consumer-directed process, that the family and the caregivers and the clients all know what's been authorized and where am I at. so that I can make sure that I'm getting all of the service that I'm entitled to and using as much as I can. So this gives every client, every responsible party a quick glance, quick look at where am I at on my agreement, how much have I consumed, am I running out or not, so they can see that information right away, right on the page in real time, anytime they like.
And to that, to add to that, whether you're traditional services or consumer-directed services, it's the same app. The app is capable of recognizing, based on the service type, what the rules should be for the app and how it should behave for the user of the app. So there are several of our customers, several of you who have both consumer-directed as well as traditional services. And when you train an employee and you distribute the app, it's the same app and it works the same way, but there are slight nuances based on the service line. And it not just traditional consumer directed, it also applies to all the other services. The app is still the same, but the contents of what needs to be filled out will vary based on the service line.
Okay. So that's the app. That's what the caregiver would use out in the field, as they're recording services. So now we're going to open up the Pavillio application itself. And so from Pavillio, I would log in, and this would be how users in your office access the application. So the first thing we'll do is here on the left side, we have a menu option for care management, and we're going to look at approving visits. In the legacy application today, when you use the EVV process, we've built out a separate EVV portal where you can see all of the time that's coming in, all the time that's being processed, and review it, approve it, look at any issues along the way, and look at that data. Okay. In Pavillio, the idea of a separate portal is gone. Pavillio is your separate portal. Everything else other than the EVV app that the caregiver use is part of the Pavillio platform. Okay. So here in the approved visits section, we're looking at PCA services. We're looking at services for the last 6 weeks, and I can see time in different buckets here. And so all of the time comes in and is automatically coded into one of these buckets. The idea being that Pavillio is doing the work of validating this record, doing as much as it can to say, I'm looking for issues, I'm looking for things that are valid. I see things that need attention. I'm going to highlight those and put them in a warning mode. I'm going to put them in an incomplete bucket so that someone can look at them. But the records that are ready for approval, the records that are already finalized, they're already done. And I don't need to take any action on them because the system's already determined these are ready to go. In terms of warnings, the system's found things that may be not quite right that somebody needs to look at. And issues such as a record was entered beyond the geofence, like the example we looked at from the app. There might be a case where instead of a scheduled visit, someone entered a timesheet manually. This is allowed in the application today, and depending on what DHS rules for EVV come into play in December, this may get turned off, but for today, it's a warning. Someone needs to look at it. And then I see some time that's invalid. This is a 5-minute service call. Well, can service really be provided for 5 minutes? That's an invalid record. Someone needs to attend to this before it can move forward. And then I, as an administrator, I can finalize this and approve it and say, yep, this is okay, it can keep going. Or I can reject it and send it back to the caregiver. Any incomplete records show up. So records that have been entered but may not be finalized or signed yet. If they haven't been signed, they're not marked as approved yet. I've got a 4 hours here and 45 minutes here. These are unapproved. They're not done yet. And then some short records, some that are in process in a draft. But I, as an administrator, I can review those and I can see what they're doing. I can look at the details if I need to, or remove them from the system if they're invalid.
Just to highlight here, right where it says service line, right now we're looking at personal care based on the example for EVV, but this is the approval screen for all services. So there may be other services that have other forms of incompleteness in the record, and that's what will show up here. So when you provide multiple services, you can filter by the service that you are you're attending to, and then go through the approval, but everything happens in one place.
Correct. Records that have been signed and are just pending approval, those are ready to go. You know, those can be finalized when ready. And then I can see any finalized records that, you know, are already in process for payroll or for billing, you know, or I can see any rejected records if there were any that are in process. And so, you know, as Praba mentioned, you know, all of the time comes in here. I filter it by service line, look at the dates, and then I can review it, make sure it's being attended to before it moves on to the next step of the process.
One of the questions that came up through the chat boards was, can the units, can this on the dash for EVV on the dashboard, can it show hours versus units? Yes, it can. This example happens to have units, but it can be hours versus units. And then I think Julie asked a question, will it flag when it's outside of the geofence? And I think Bill covered that. Yes, if it is outside of the geofence, it's going to be flagged, and then you're going to make a decision as to, oh, I know exactly what happened and I'm okay with that. Or you can say, well, wait a second, I don't like this. This is not right. I'm going to reject it and send it back. So you have the ability to do that. And here's just a view of what the service record looks like and more information about it. Okay, so that was EVV. And by the way, feel free to send questions in while we're talking. If possible, we'll answer it in line or at the end of the webinar. Towards the end, we have a Q&A session. And if we fail to address it there at the end of, after the webinar, we're going to be sending out a whole list of all the questions and all the answers. So feel free to pop in and ask questions, and we'll get to it one way or another. All right, now the second item on the list was new service lines. When we showed you the service lines, we showed you that we had PCA 245D basic and 245D intensive. And what we have here is a list of this is the configuration capabilities of the platform behind the scenes. And what you're seeing here is all the various services that are in the production environment. So if you have any one of these services, we have that set up. Now, what does setting up a new service line really mean? Well, there are a number of components to it. First of all, to set up a service line, you need to have a care plan or a service plan. And the service plan is specific to each one of these services, and we have tailored it such that you can have a care plan that is defined and has the necessary information for that specific service. Once we have the service line, once we have the service line, the care plan defined, then the next step is to say, all right, what are the specific rules around the service agreement that pertains to that service line? And then a number of rules that we put in place based on things like, hey, can you overlap a particular service? Can you bill for more than bill under more than one code? There are a number of rules that we have that prevent errors, and we do that by defining it upfront with each service line. Third, there's documentation that's necessary for each one of the service lines, and in PCA and 245D basic, the documentation is somewhat simplistic, but once we get into 245D intensive, then you have a CSSBA, you have an SMA associated with that, you have IAPPs. All of that is built into the platform. And what do I mean by built into the platform? You will run across other software products where they say, hey, here, attach a Word document and you can make that a care plan, and that's, that's good to go. we don't believe that's a good answer, and we'll show you why in our example when we get into it. But this, when we say it's built into the platform, we build the data into the platform, and the data is accessible and then can be reused to do various things with it. So it's not just an attachment to say you have a care plan, and the care plan is part and parcel of the platform itself. So to give you an example of that, let's pull up a CSSPA. A CSSPA is obviously a big document with a lot of information derived from the CSSP. Here's a CSSPA that we have that has a lot of information. All of that is can be entered, based on certain entries, you're going to be able to. Let's go further down, Bill. Let's stop right there. There's a lot of data that's entered. Also, you capture the necessary outcomes in the CSSPA, and the outcomes are not just, hey, I just have a line item here. The outcomes actually have information associated with that. So here is a particular outcome, and it's very specific. And there's a rating scale. There is what is considered to be a positive qualifier. Is it just a yes, no? Do you have numbers associated with it? Is the rating from 0 to 10? So there is a lot of information here that allows us to be data driven versus just a electronic version of your paper CSSPA. So the intelligence is built into it, and that's what when we say that it's built into the system, we mean it is really built into the system. It's not just attached as a PDF or a Word document. Going further down, all aspects of the SMA is also included here. You can fill all of that out. Bill, is this a editable version you have?
Yep.
Okay. If it's an editable version, then you have signatures here, and a lot of times you have multiple signatures, different people having to sign. You have the ability to pick the different people who are approving the signature and have them sign the document online. So the system is capable of doing that. Now, once this is available and the CSSPA is operational, you fast forward a year down the road, and now you have to do an assessment. And the assessment requires that you're going to take the old CSSPA and then you're going to make some modifications and you're going to edit it. Well, the system has the capability to clone the CSSPA so that you can then reproduce, or rather produce the new CSSPA based on the old one. This is another reason that you want to be able to have this within the system and be able to edit it in such a way that you can then clone it. We also have the ability to print it out if you needed to, basic functionality, but it's something that people need to maybe provide this as a document to a case manager or to the recipient. Similarly, this is a CSSPA. The SMA also can be printed out if needed. Now, so that's an example of a document. Now, of course, the IAPP is also available and can be, it's part and parcel of the platform, not an attachment. So these are documents that we have built in. So we showed you some examples of documents. Let's maybe dive into one of the new service lines, group homes or foster care being the most recent one that we rolled out. Let us maybe talk through that. Well, foster care requires a number of things to be effective. The first one is scheduling is always, and scheduling and resource management in foster care environments is always a challenge. And our platform allows you to manage employees and their schedules and the schedules that are required for each one of the group homes well within the platform itself. So, for example, Bill, you have one group home here, the Calhoun location. The Calhoun location has coverage, has a 24-hour coverage, and here are the different people that are scheduled to work the Calhoun group home. And one of the things that it's also going to show is, okay, hey, I've got people scheduled, but am I fully scheduled? No. If I'm missing, if I need to find someone to fill in, the system's going to say, here is a place where there's 8 hours of a schedule that's not filled because no one's scheduled for it, and you're going to be able to take a look at that and then assign that slot to a employee. As a and you also, Bill, can you show the caregiver list, the employee list as well, please? Mm-hmm. So here's a list of the different employees and when they're providing care, at what time, who are the people coming in, and so forth. So this is schedule management, a very important aspect, and making sure that there is always coverage and being alerted when you don't have coverage is what this component does. Second, a good example here is, okay, as a caregiver, you also are going to do some charting. And charting would require that so let's take, for example, the same client that we had, Herman. Bill is logged in now as a caregiver. As a caregiver, you're going to see a very different view. You have a limited number of items on the left side, but you're going to just see what's necessary. And one of the things that you can do is to chart for the clients that you have. So in this particular case, if Herman is one of the clients in the group home and you want to chart for that person, you would go in and you would do the charting. And now this could happen on a laptop, it could happen on a tablet, it could happen on a phone, it doesn't matter. The system is responsive enough to adapt to the device that you're holding. And here you would walk through these examples for the outcomes you have, Bill.
Sure. So for Herman here, when we're doing charting, there's no time component, associated with this. This is not, recording attendance. It's not recording work. It's simply recording the activity for the day, the progress notes that need to be recorded on what happened for today. So just as we set up the outcomes in Herman CSSPA, I can now, record against them. In this case, did Herman go to work, today? Well, no, he didn't work today. Maybe he felt sick. And so I can record that, if I can type correctly, as part of the charting record. Did he help put his dishes away? Yes, he did. He did that twice today. That was good. Did he take a shower? Yes, he did. So whatever the goals and the outcomes, whatever the measurements that have been determined, this is how I make the record, of what happened. Today was a good day. And so whatever progress notes, general notes need to be captured, would get recorded here. One of the things we've added into the charting process here, beyond the mobile app, if you're familiar with our mobile app, is the ability to save this as a draft. I can save these notes midstream. I can come back to them and update them, correct them, make changes as I go, throughout the day. I know this is something that many of our users have asked for, and something we built in, to the Pavillio platform. And then when I'm finished with the charting, I can simply submit it, and it'll record this charting, on Herman's record, and then I can come back to the same screen and repeat the same process, same charting with the other clients that I'm serving. If I'm working in a group home and a shift, I may have 4 individuals like this to chart for each day, record notes so that I've got a record and people see what's going on, throughout the day. Specifically for the group home environment, for this new service line, we've also added a process here where I, as a caregiver, I'm in the home for the day. I've done my charting. I need to record attendance. Okay? So if I'm working in my Calhoun location, for a group home environment or a residential setting, I need to record attendance for the day. And this is different than recording on a unit-based service for PCA or homemaking or something like that. This is an attendance roster. Was each of these clients present, for the day? So I've seen my records for the previous days. Marjorie was here, Herman was here, Shelly was here. Helena was not here, and so I can record that as absent. And then the system will prompt me to identify, why was this person not here? Why were they absent? Well, they were hospitalized, they were on a leave, you know, or they were just on vacation for the day. And so then I can record that as part of the record of my attendance, you know, out of town. And then that's part of my attendance record for the day. As Praba mentioned earlier, you know, EVV, those records go straight into approving the visits. You know, in the foster care and in residential settings, these attendance records, this is what flows into approved visits. So the approval is not looking at how many hours did I spend or how many units did I consume. You know, was each of these individuals present or not? And then I can bill for that daily visit going forward.
So here you would submit this, save and submit this, and then this would flow right into billing.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So that's group home. This is a new service line for us. Like I was saying earlier, we've always been able to bill for group homes, but one of the things that we could not do was the scheduling and some of the documentation with the CSSP in a manner that would replace the paper versions of the same documentation in the group homes, and that's what we have done. We will continue to enhance this capability because there are a number of group home providers in the state that we want to go after. So let's talk about, you know, obviously this is one of the service lines there, like I said, several of them, and all of them have specific capabilities for billing, for service agreements, for care plans, and that's what makes them unique. So it's not just, hey, here is a service and we have, you know, let's show them the set of billing codes that we have, because when we establish in the system, when we establish what can be done, we go through and we specify each one of the billing codes and what is possible and how it should work. And some of these billing codes are meant to be fixed rate, others are variable rate that you can adjust. All of that is defined. For example, recently we had the 8.4% that came up. You know, December to February 7th, there's an 8.4% increase. Well, in Pavillio, it makes it real easy. We have the ability to go in and say, for the period of December 1 through February 7th, we're going to have an 8.4% increase in the rate. Apply that in for all the claims that go out, so that you have the increase in revenue and the remits come back and they match up and it'll be accurate. And on February the 8th, the system automatically reverts back to the original rate. This was not something that we didn't anticipate when we built it, but the design is such that it allows us to do it. And when this came up a couple, 3 months ago, it was not a big deal for us. We said, oh, we can use the effective date capability we have in the service agreement, and we will make a change. What does this mean? Pca rate changes in July, okay? You don't have to go touch all the service agreements for PCA. We will change the effective date, apply. The T1019 will automatically switch to a higher rate, and that higher rate is what will get billed, and you don't have to make a change in the service agreement. Whereas in legacy, while we have the flexibility to make those changes, it also introduced the ability to have more errors. And by putting some controls around this, it allows us to make it so we don't need to go in and make a change individually, we make it system-wide. When we make a T1019 change, it changes it system-wide and everybody gets the benefit of making that change. And it's easy on our side and it's less work on your side. Okay, since we're talking about T codes and claims, why don't we dive right into billing related enhancements we've made. Billing related enhancements we've made, there are so many of them, guys. This is an area that we get excited about only because we know it real well. There's a lot that we understand about billing. We learned a ton in the legacy platform, and we've taken all those lessons that we have learned and the ideas from many of you who have come up with great ways to improve billing. And we've taken all that information and then we built Pavillio. And the only limitation we have is hours in a day to get things done and the number of people who can work on it. But every 3 weeks, we're updating the system with new capabilities. So I can't, we don't have enough time to go through everything, but I'm going to highlight 3 three, but I think important changes or valuable changes, things I think you would appreciate. First one we'll start with is eligibility. Eligibility drives everything, whether you're going to get paid, what services a person receives, etc. Bill, pull up the eligibility for this particular client. This client has these services and are eligible for these services. In the past, we could only tell you if a client was eligible for MA services, yes or no, and who the payer was. Now we've taken that information and we've taken that concept and now we've expanded it where eligibility also brings back all the waiver information on what waivers is that client eligible for. And not only that, we now can also bring copay and spend down information back to show you what is expected as copay and spend down for this particular client. A big improvement from what we had. Not only that, and we may have talked about this in our last webinar, but this is in real time. So can you execute a real-time eligibility? Let's see if we can do that right now. May or may not be. Oh, there we go. We did. Eligibility now is as of this minute, and it ran a real-time eligibility. So you may have a situation where you're going to go make a change. Client didn't turn their paperwork in, was not eligible. Now you're checking to see if they're eligible or not, and the system brings us back. By the way, the system automatically checks eligibility on a weekly basis and keeps this information updated so that when you're processing claims, the system has the ability to stop claims that are for people that are not eligible so that you don't get denials, because that's something that you should know and you can prevent. And denial prevention is what we are all about in the billing world. First time denial prevention is what we're all about, and therefore we built all the rules around denial prevention, and this happens to be one of those rules. So that's eligibility. Oh, by the way, one of the things that we're working on for eligibility, we don't, if DHS will give us the information, we will make it available, and that is if a particular copay has already been applied or is already been billed, then we want to be able to show you that this particular client's copay has been met or the spend down has been met, and to show you that. We're trying to see if we can pull that information. We'll certainly make that available. Now that we have the structure, adding that information is not that difficult. It's all a matter of whether the state provides it or not. So eligibility was one. Second is, let's maybe talk about just the general idea of managed care organizations and billing to MCOs. In the past or in legacy, we have the ability to send claims through a clearinghouse, and the clearinghouse we use is Waystar, or what's the old Zermed, Zermed Waystar. That's what we use, and that's what all of you have in legacy. Well, Zermed is, and there are many clearinghouses, and you could go to different ones, but Zermed sends claims through, for some payers, sends claims through Availity, and then Availity sends those claims onto the payer. And we've had issues where, because we're taking more than one hop, the claim could get stuck along the way, and this increases the chances of you having more denials or delay in payment. And we wanted to improve this process. Remember, our goal is to minimize first-time denials. And so this is a structural and business decision that we made, and we moved to Availity, although it is a more expensive solution for our part. We moved to Availity so that we could actually get a better result in terms of sending claims and receiving them, and take out this extra stop in between. And this improves what we consider to be, whether it's sending claims or receiving remits, it improves our chances of you getting claims paid better. And so we made this transition. And not only that, we've also, you no longer have to upload a claims file or download a remit file. The system is fully integrated on the back end, and our one-click billing capability basically means it doesn't care whether you're sending to MA, you're sending to MCO, whether the claim files cross multiple months, if the claim files are too big, all of that logic and all of that messing around the system does on the back end. All you have to say is, hey, select all services and all claims for all payers and send it out, and behind the scene, the system splits everything up, packages it up correctly, and then sends it on so that you don't have to. And it waits for the remit and brings the remits back. And wherever possible, it's also going to get status on the claims. And we'll show you how that works here in a second. We might have shown you in the past. For those who haven't seen it, we'll show you that as well. So that is MCO and our decision to move to Availity, because Availity is closer to the payer than other clearinghouses are. Several different billing capabilities, but I'm going to talk about a couple of them here. One is service priority. Service priority is a feature and capability that we have built into the platform that serves, that's meant for services that can be billed under, the same services being billed under two different codes, and there are some rules around it. To give you an example of that, a service such as this, such as PCA and extended, what do you call that bill? Extended units?
Extended PCA, extended units.
Yeah, extended PCA services. We have customers, and I fondly remember a discussion when this initially came up about 3 years ago. A customer of ours came to us and said, "Hey, I want to be able to bill out all my T1019 UC before I bill out all my T1019." And we said, "Well, I don't know, you have to manually do that." And he thought, "Well, it's a computer, why can't you make the computer do that?" While we did some minor enhancements in legacy, in Pavillio, we have really automated this. Essentially, what we have the capability to do here is, so let's take, for example, you have PCA T1019 UC. So these are extended units for a period of time from 1/1 to 6/3. These are extended units, and you want to bill out extended units. Do you have the extended units pulled up? Yeah, okay. You want to bill out 3 hours of extended units. That's what's been approved, and you want to build it out. And anything more than that, you want it to go to T1019 regular PCA services. So if you finalized 5 hours of service, then 3 hours will get billed automatically to T1019 UC, and the other 2 will drop to the T1019 regular PCA service. Now, if you say, "Well, no problem, I don't like that. I want to bill all my extended units out right away, and I don't want to regulate it by the number of hours that was allotted, because I want to just flex on that and use it all up." Okay, no problem. We can do that too. We would then set up the max hours here to be 24 hours, which means anything that comes will get billed here till you exhaust the units. And then guess what? The second priority is PCA regular hours, and the regular hours will then automatically will drop down. The rest of the service agreement, the rest of the hours will get put onto the T1019 service agreement. And the ability to do this means some agencies like to bill everything out under UC, others want to bill it out such that you only use what you're designated per day and use the extended. Doesn't matter. We have the flexibility to do that using priority logic, and we call this service priority. It's another thing that we've done to minimize the level of thinking that you have to do and managing you have to do outside the system. The system does it for you. So that's one exciting new feature that we introduced. Let's move on to another interesting feature that we have put together, and this is spend down and copay management. In legacy, when you bill something out and you get a spend down or a copay, it comes back as a partial payment. And this partial payment sits out there in the claims in the active table in legacy, and sits out there as a partial payment because the payer he's never going to pay it, but it's always going to represent itself as a partial payment. The system is now designed such that that spend down amount or the copay amount automatically gets moved to the client's account. So each client has an account, and here Bill is showing you the financials under the client statement here. And what you have is the client's current balance of $14,459 or whatever, and that is what the client owes. And this is what was denied by the payer and now automatically transferred to the client's account. And now the system will, on a monthly basis at the beginning of the month, generate a invoice. Let's see, we have a sample invoice there. Here's generate a statement and send that statement. You can send that statement via email or mail it. And that is a history of all the transactions. And this allows you to then go collect on the spend down dollars. You don't have to sift through claims. You don't have to do, even in legacy, we have an automation that we've done, but it's a little clunky. This is a far cleaner way to see. And then let's maybe hop over to Red Ash to the analytics, and we can see here is a list of all the clients and what their unpaid balance is. So you always know, look, do I have a bunch of money that I haven't collected that's out there, and who's paid it and who hasn't? And of course, anytime and you flip back to the other page, anytime someone makes a payment, you post a payment. You come here, you go through, and the system allows you to take the check that you got and then apply that payment. Okay, so this is useful capability, that's spend downs. Let's jump into claims. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here, but I'm just going to highlight in the workbench. So you have claims, you have a lot of information here in claims. That failed claims means you've got claims that didn't go through for a reason or one reason or another, and you can go fix it. And when the claims are ready, you can send them out. And when the claims are being worked on, you get the claims and you see what sort of status there and will pay, will deny, and then you can act on them. The thing that I want to highlight is you can go to the workbench, take any one of these claims, and then what the system allows you to do is, based on the type of claim, when Bill clicks on that, you'll see these buttons up on top change: replace, void, and write-off. They'll pick another one. This one you can only replace and void. Pick the next one. This one you can only resubmit. So the claim, based on the status and the denial and the payer and the client and the service agreement, makes some determination and gives you some guidance on what can be done. And these rules help simplify how you process denials. And the whole idea is easier denial management so that you can get as much money as possible and then simplify the level of effort required. You don't have to be a rocket scientist biller to make this work. Even I can bill in here. So let's keep going. There's a couple of other things. So let's move on, Bill, to financials. Once the claims are completed, the next thing people always want is financial. The system has always been somewhat lacking legacy. Has been lacking in its ability to give good financial information. We always derive this out of claims, but we have the capability to now, what Bill is showing you is the ability to set up a general ledger structure for all your service lines, for all the payers, for all the departments, divisions, and locations. Establish that structure. If these are for larger agencies, establish that structure so that you can then automatically map that information so that the right dollar amounts go into the right bucket. So that, let's look at the agency financials, so that you get this information. This is beautiful, and I love this screen because essentially the 4 boxes on top: total unbilled, total billed not paid, total cash, and total revenue. The first 3 boxes add up to what you should get. So if you have total unbilled as services that you've provided that you're going to end up paying your caregivers on but hasn't been billed. The second box is what's been billed but hasn't been paid. And the third box is what cash you've got and you've been paid. The sum of all of that should ultimately equal the total revenue. And this level of detail and this simplicity was not possible in legacy without doing a bunch of gymnastics. And we're able to do that here. And you can do this by different service lines for duration, etc. But the whole idea is, because we have the capability to have GL accounts and we post these, we do double entry GL accounting, we have the ability to pull this information quickly, as well as then take this, export it, and send it on to your QuickBooks. Let's pop into payroll real quick. Not going to cover a whole lot here other than payroll capabilities are there. We've got multiple payroll export formats. If you go through and you exported someone but you want to unexport it, you can do that. Here is an example of a payroll CSV file that comes out that you can import into a payroll software. So payroll is pretty straightforward. It has the capabilities. It's more organized than we had in legacy. We're still doing some tweaks to improve it, but ultimately it's a robust payroll platform. And I'm going to cover a few other things. Let's go to the next section, workflow and collaboration. I want to start with telehealth. Telehealth is an area that we've added, given since the pandemic, the need to provide remote service capability. We built out the telehealth capabilities in the platform. Essentially, what you have is the ability to pop in here, and you can do a video call and have a conversation with whoever. Anyone with a green dot is live. You can have a video call with another person, and you can use this to provide remote services, and you can have the client connect online, and you can have remote services. I'm unable to show you this because the mic and the camera, etc., are being used by the demo machine, so you can only be in one application at one time. But that's how video calls work. Second this is for collaboration, and the second capability is notes and tasks. Notes and tasks, we call them admin notes. Admin notes, we have the capability in legacy where you can go in and put notes in. We've improved this tremendously. You have some tagging capability. You can define the tags. You can enter the notes. But what's even cooler is you can then say, hey, I want to assign this, convert this note into a task, and I'm going to assign it to somebody else and tell them, hey, you got to get this done by the 18th. And you create this, and now this becomes a task assigned to me by Bill, and it's monitored. And if I don't get it done, it's going to pop up and say, hey, Praba hasn't finished this task yet. That type of collaboration capability, especially when everyone's working from home, is a valuable tool to keep track of what's happening within the office. We've got a couple of other things. We've got incoming clients. Others may have seen this in the past, but the incoming clients, this says clients who've used this really like this. They have the ability to keep track of all the intake, the intake process, gather all the information, and then admit the client so that they become a current client and then can be a service. So it is not just a flat location to put files. Here you go through a structured workflow to add people, add information, and then bring someone as a active client. We have the same capability for onboarding employees, but the concept is very similar. Let's pop into the dashboard real quick. The dashboard, we continue to add a lot of widgets. Here's a new widget that we added, something that we should have done sooner, but here's an example. Go up a little higher. Oh, so yeah, service agreements. That was service. You've seen service agreements expiration. We've talked about that. But here is over under. The over under report that we have. Well, you're not going to get an over under report. You're going to come here and you're going to see who's over and who's under, and what are they over or under by, and this is real time information. So that's a new widget that we added. And finally, I want to pop into our analytics tool, which is the analytics tool. We had some difficulty getting this put together, but we finally figured it out, and now it works. And the analytics tool has the capability to pull data, and you can essentially pull and ask various questions against the data. Here's an example of billed versus paid. On the right side is an aging dashboard by service line. Which is pretty cool, which, you have an aging report, when the payers haven't paid you. But here's something that's even cooler. We built what's called workflow-based aging. And workflow aging basically is, everybody, when they talk about aging, they say, hey, aging is when I send something to the payer and the payer didn't pay me. How old is this outstanding balance? here what we're looking at is in a workflow, if there are dollars that haven't been billed within the organization that should be billed, but it's stuck somewhere. For example, there are draft versions of time cards that haven't been completed. Well, somebody needs to complete those. Maybe there's a draft version, but a client has approved it, but nothing's been done about it, and it's ready. The client's approved it, but the supervisor hasn't approved it, and it's sitting in the approval screen. Well, all right, let's go fix that. Or maybe it's approved by the supervisor, but the biller hasn't sent it out, so that is ready to be sent, and the biller hasn't sent it. Or you can say there's in the failed section, which means the claims haven't been created, but it's sitting there because there's something wrong with him and nobody has dealt with it. These now give you much clearer visibility into where money is stuck and how you can get that out the door so that you can get paid. So this is an interesting dashboard feature that we have. Further down, we have some more information that pertains to how to pull. Here's a pivot table that allows you to add columns and change and look at information. So drag a column over, Bill. Let's show them what that is. And this allows you to generate data beyond just what's available, but you can then ask or add columns and then generate a report out that then you can export. Okay, so that's pretty much what we had for them. There's a lot more, guys, that we've done. We don't have the time to go through every one of those, but these are some of the highlights. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. While we're doing that, if you have any questions, please send a question in. We'll answer as many of those as we can. Okay, there is a lot of improvements over legacy cache in Pavillio. This is a document that's out on the website that details what the differences are. But for the most part, here's some user feedback. People who are in Pavillio and using it, the QPs love the fact that it's not paper-based, the ability to pull information and complete notes on site, and there's lots and lots of advantages to it. And we'll continue to improve the platform as we go along. Migration. So let's talk a little bit about migration. There are several of you that are in the migration process, others that have completed it, others that are waiting to migrate. Typically for a typical customer, it is about 6 weeks. But we start the process, we show you how to use it, we make sure that we got all the data in, we work through any issues we have, and then hopefully get you to a point where you can run on your own. Now, one of the things that we have figured out is that migrations are hard. There are things we anticipated and they were hard, the things that we didn't anticipate and they were even harder. And we have a lot of lessons learned, a lot of things that we have updated and fixed along the way. But ultimately, what it comes down to is this is a team effort. We need to work with you, and you need to work with us. We're taking you to a better place, and it is not easy. It is not easy because everyone's unique and everyone has different requirements, and change is hard, but it can be done. And all that we ask is bear with us, work with us, and we'll get you to a point where you're going to be happy and you can celebrate that you've got the platform up and running. Okay. Next. Let's see. Let's look at. We've in the past talked about the fact that all of our customers have a price lock guarantee. If you are existing customer, we are migrating you off of legacy into Pavillio, and this is an expensive process for us. Not only building Pavillio is expensive, we have a whole team of people that are dedicated to just migrating you. And we're going to keep your price the same, and we give you the price lock guarantee. And past the 12 or 24 month period, as original legacy platform customers, you'll always have preferential pricing compared to what is list pricing out on the website. So keep that in mind. We value you guys as great customers of ours, and we want to make sure that we migrate as well as take care of you as we move forward. One other thing that I would like to mention and highlight is, look, the whole idea of social services and providing care for people with disabilities and the elderly is continuing to evolve, and there's more need for that, especially with institutionalized settings fading away and people needing to be taken care of at home. So many people are starting home care agencies, and we have a program for people that are starting up. If you go to DHS every week, there is somebody who is starting up a new agency. For people that are starting up, if you're less than 5 clients and you're just getting going, the platform is free. Doesn't matter how many clients you have, and doesn't matter how many services you have. If it's less than 5 clients, the whole platform and all its capability, not some reduced capability, all its capabilities are available. And if you're a small agency under 20 clients, it's $199. You have the full capability of the platform. Doesn't matter what services, it's $199. Our idea here is we got to make it easy for those people who are jumping into this business and starting out. They need to worry about taking care of the early clients that they have and running their business, not worry about all the details of billing and documentation and so forth. So this is our way of giving back to the agency community and those choosing to provide care. Okay, there are a bunch of questions we have. We're going to cover a few of these, and the rest we're going to answer and send the answers back to them via email. So let's start with one here that we have from Kevin. Kevin says, can we create our own absent reasons? Can we create? This refers back to when a client is not showing up and you decide that the client is absent. We had medical, they were the hospitalized or they were on vacation. The answer is yes. You can, Bill, while I'm talking, maybe you can you can find it. But you can create any reason that you want, and there are many aspects of the platform that are configurable. This is configurable at the agency level. At the agency level, you can define what the reasons are, and you can specify that to show up when someone is absent. We have another question here. How do we get the analytics dashboard from Katie? Katie, we ran into, all honesty, we ran into some issues with the analytics capability. We were trying to provide some advanced capabilities, and I was not willing to settle for a simple analytics tool. So it took us a little bit to get it working, and it was just deployed this week. And on the top, Bill, show people where the analytics dashboard is. Right up here where you see that bar chart type thing up there, that's the icon. You click on that, and that takes you into the analytics dashboard. It was just launched this week. We've got some things that we are doing to clean it up, and the dashboard will improve on it. It will refresh every night with some more capabilities. Now that we have the framework and platform working the way that I want it to work, you're going to have a lot more coming on there, and you'll be able to see that when you pop in right now.
And they can customize and add their own dashboards. So as part of the tool, we give you a standard dashboard that will maintain, will update and continue. And then you get access to a data warehouse that you can report off of, to add your own data sets, own queries, and add your own reports that fit your agency's needs.
I shouldn't try to drive your PC.
It's okay.
Where are you going? I'm going to the next question. Somebody was asking the question, can we upload documents? So can you just go to the documents for a client and show where we can upload documents? The answer is yes, you can upload documents. You have the ability to upload any document you want. And so in the onboarding process, you can upload documents. Here is the various document categories. Here are some documents that have already been uploaded. You can specify the format. You can browse and go pick up a document from the file system and upload it. and that becomes part of the client's electronic health record. We have the ability to also generate, use templates and generate PDFs. Again, in full disclosure, we ran into some challenges with this. I was not willing to settle for a simple PDF generator. We wanted to build a PDF generator that was far more sophisticated. Well, guess what happens when you're trying to do a lot with little time? We run into problems. We ran into some issues. I feel like we've got it fixed now in this particular release that went out. We still have some tweaks that we have to make, but ultimately we have the ability to create PDFs, and this again came out last week after some fixes that needed to be put in place. So you can create the templates, and then you can map data to the templates, and pretty much any data that is in the platform can be mapped to your own template, and you can do this yourself. Here's another question. I'm a legacy EVV user. When do I get Pavillio admin access? I'm a legacy EVV user. When do I get Pavillio admin access? Okay, so
the admin access to Pavillio comes in when you begin the migration process. So if you've already started the process, your project manager will have provided an agency admin with that admin rights, and then can help you set up any roles and permissions for any other users in your agency as well. If you haven't started migration yet, one thing, if you're ready to go and you want to get started, if you reach out to us and let us know that you're ready to start, we'll get you on the schedule with the migration team. They've got a full load, and they're working through 350 agencies. So we've got people already in the pipeline, already moving, but we're already getting people queued up for the next few months. So if you are ready and want to move, let us know. We'll provide contact information with the recording and the questions at the end of the call, and then we'll get you onto the schedule. And one of our project managers will reach out to you when it's your turn.
Okay. The next question is, can Pavillio output to a payroll system? Yes, we have multiple payroll templates created, and we'll continue to create templates based on what payroll systems are out there. But the answer is, the system has the capability to create a detailed report of all the transactions, payroll transactions on a day-by-day basis, or a summary transaction which is grouped by each employee, and that information can then be exported to a payroll file that is specific to that payroll company that you need to send it to. So we have a few: Paylocity, ADP,
iSolve, Microsoft GP,
Microsoft GP,
and I think there's 3 or 4 more that are coming in the next week or so.
Okay, so one of the things that we did with Pavillio is we built the system such that I can quickly create a payroll version without having to do any programming. And let's see, I have another question here. Is Eligibility going to be more expensive than Zermet? No, it's not. Here's the thing. When you're if you're a migrating client, you'll be paying for the Zermet fees. When you move to Pavillio, your fees include the Zermet fees, and there is no additional upcharge for the ability cost. And that's part of what we did, was we didn't want to nickel and dime you. So we want to make sure that it's one package. So if you're a new customer coming on, the price that we have on the website includes the charges that would apply for Zermet. Well, we're about out of time here. We've got a few more questions. We will make sure to address those in our email out to you. I would like to first of all thank everyone for joining us. Please fill out the survey that's going to pop up, or it's going to be sent out to you. Either way, please fill that survey out. We will also not only will send out the answers to the questions that you have, we will also send out a link to this webinar, and you'll have an email, and then you can share that with others who are not able to join us. Thanks again. I appreciate everyone joining us today. Good luck with 2021. Look forward to our emails on Pavillio upcoming, and for customers that are eager to migrate, reach out, and if we're ready to move you, we will. Otherwise, wait to hear from us and we'll get you migrated. Everybody will be moved on to EVV before EVV is required. I encourage you to get a jump start on it if you can, and that'll only simplify things for you. I know as we get closer to the end of the year, it's going to be pretty tight, and I would hate to say that I can't take you on. So if you are ready, I suggest let's get started on it and let's get you on to EVV and Pavillio. Thanks again. Have a great afternoon and a good rest of the week.